Shalom, everybody. This is Rabbi Noach, and I need to share with you something today that I am super passionate about. Anybody who knows me knows that I love to talk about this and think about this and learn about this, and that is the topic of how to increase your productivity and at the same time decrease your stress and burnout in a way that is sustainable. It's not a quick technique, but more of something completely overarching and an opportunity for you to reorient your worlds of work and life and the balance between them. So let's get started and jump right in. The Torah says very clearly to us, the beginning of Genesis, and we learn about it in the Ten Commandments, that work matters. Sheishes yamim ta'avod va'asisa kol malachtecha. 6 days you should work. You must labor. Work in this world is good. It's good to contribute. It's good to make a difference. It's good to make parnasa, to make money, to make livelihood, to make a contribution in this world. It matters. Sheishes yamim, work. 6 days, work. Put in work in this world. But we have a natural stop to that. Uvayom hashevi'i shavas vayinafash. On the seventh day, we are meant to rest and be restored. Vayinafash also comes from the word nefesh, soul. We have to have a day of rest, a day of soul, a day outside of the realm of work, of avodah, of malacha. This is something that is a natural, sacred balance in the world, and it is mimicked in the 7-day week. We live in Jewish time in our worlds. So when we look at this little chart, doing versus being, everyone says, it's very cliched today to hear people say, I don't want to just be a human doing, I want to be a human being. And that's of course true. The Torah's ratio, the way that the Torah teaches us to connect to time and contribution in life is va'asita, you need to do. That's about 85% on average. I mean, we have other holidays and of course sleep, but in general, like 85% of the days, we're in work mode. And again, there's so many dimensions of what work is, and we're not going to get into all the details of that here. And then 15% is Shabbat. Shabbat means to sit, to shev, to sit. It also means to rest. This is the whole idea. It's being. In a nutshell, it's being. We have work, avodah, do, asita, do. And then we have Shabbat. Shabbat is to sit. What do you do when you sit? You just be, don't move. We have something called Techum Shabbos. We have a border of how far you can travel on Shabbat. We're meant to stay more or less in one place or one community in one area. And that's why it says Shabbat, Hayom LaHashem. The day of Shabbat, the day of being, is a day of Hayom. It's a day of today. It's a day of being present. So much of the work world is about doing and future and thinking and planning and working hard and building and building and building. And one day is to Shabbat. It's to be in the day of Hayom, to be present. La Hashem, in the name of Hashem, Yod Kei Vav Kei, that ultimate name of Hashem. One of its meanings is Haya, Hoveh, and Yihiyeh. It's a combination of tenses. The 4 letters there can combine to create tenses. Haya, was, Hoveh, is, Yihiyeh, will be. Hashem is this ultimate being. This is Shabbat Hayom, a day of ultimate being. Being with Hashem, and also within ourselves, a day of being. Not a day of doing, a day of being. So Shabbat, having that sense of cycle of Shabbat, is in order to create a human being. And then when you are being properly, your doing becomes more meaningful. A good work week leads to a good Shabbat. A good Shabbat leads to a good work week and the balance between them. So the best advice I have to increase your productivity, to decrease your burnout and stress, is to have a sense of a day of being, a day of Shabbos. That's a big topic. There's so much dimensions to Shabbos. It is a world. It is a universe. It is one of the 10 Commandments. It is a primal way of looking at time. It is part of the original divine way of creativity in Genesis. It's huge. It's a huge topic. But one thing that we can all do, whether we keep full Shabbat in a Jewish way, whether even just the way that we use our weekend, on this mitzvah of Shabbat, the day of rest, it says, Lo sa'aseh kol malacha. Don't do any work. So although the word malacha, work, refers to the 39 categories of labor, here we're just talking about it generally as your parnasa, your living, your livelihood, and making that separation between work and life. If you had the choice to work, let's say 40 hours over 6 days, 5 days, 7 days, even though you might work less, if you worked 7 days a week, you might work less per day. There's a Jewish idea, which is work, have days of work focus, and then a day completely off. There's something powerful about the cumulative time. When you have a full day off, you get to turn off that motor of work completely so that there is more time and space to increase something, fill that space with something more meaningful, more important, less urgent. But the ingredient there is that if you could work every day a little bit so that there's less stress per day, from a Torah perspective, it's do more on other days and then have the vacuum of a full day off where it's out of mind, out of heart, out of soul. Because even working an hour, then you have to turn on that motor. You start thinking about it. There's the after effect. And that means, by the way, no emails, no connection to your work. Sometimes I think about the fact that we get a million notifications a day, and it's almost like getting a knock on the door from work. Imagine your work colleague knocked on your door at 8 o'clock and was like, hey, just wanted to share with you this thing. Like, imagine how disruptive that would feel. You have to think about when you get your notifications. Like for me, when I turn that off, I don't want to even know that I got that notification from work or from a client, because once I see it, it takes up mental space. I start thinking about it. I start dwelling on it, which leads me to the next piece of advice. So complete day off of work, no connection to that work, no emails, no, I got to just it'll be better if I answer the emails that day. No, take it off your plate, be completely disconnected. And the second piece, which is what Rashi, the famous French medieval commentator on the Torah, says on Kol Malachtecha, don't do any of your work. What does he say? Keshetavo Shabbat, when Shabbos comes, Yehe ve'enecha ki'ilu kol malachtecha asuya. It must be in your eyes on this day of Shabbat as if all your work is done. You're never going to finish. There's always more work to do. Trust. Take a piece of paradise, which is what Shabbat is called, a piece of Olam Haba, the place of completion and perfection, and pretend. Doesn't matter. I'm done. It's in progress. And for me, this is a huge experience. On that Friday afternoon, I have all this residue of work ideas coming back into my brain, coming back, do this, do that. And I say no, and I have to stop. And later in the night, by Shabbos morning, you're just really able to let that go and completely forget about it. And then you come back more restored, more refreshed. And then when you're in that space where you're not focusing on it, ideas can come up during Shabbos. We can talk about how to remember those for later, but you don't dwell on them. You try not to focus on them. Shelo teharher achar malacha. That you don't even think about it. You don't ruminate. You don't have hirhurim. You don't focus. Not just, of course, you can't control your thoughts. If you have a thought and it's a good thought, keep it in your mind somewhere. Remember, like after Shabbos, I have like a list of things I write down from Shabbos that I remember. Sometimes I have cues to remember things, but honestly, you can also let them go. And if it's going to come back, it'll come back. It'll probably come back to you. Let them go as fast as possible. Don't focus on the thoughts. Don't think. There's a difference between thoughts and thinking. That's a whole other discussion. Don't think about it when it comes up. Let it go. And focus on Shabbat, focus on away from work. And there's so much to be said about how to fill that spiritual, holy, connected, loving, beautiful time. But for now, here is my tool. Stay away from work for a full day and don't even focus on it. Don't even think about it. Don't let those leaky pipes, those knocks on the door from work come in. Turn off your email. And if you do this over the long term, you will find that you know that you'll work harder during the week because you can imagine, oh, wow, I'm going to have this day off. It's there, it's set, it's predictable. You can take it off. And it allows you to go further and go harder, work hard, 24/6, whatever it is for you, and have more time to play, to be in Shabbat. And of course, you can continue this in various ways during the week as well. Having a full part of the workday, like a mini week, is in one day, a full workday. And then when you're done, shut it off. Have no sources to that work. But we're going to have a sense of Shabbat, a sense of restfulness, a sense of time off. Hope this was helpful. Please like, share, subscribe.